So, folks, I am back at it again with another wonderful call from the Transatlantic Call-In Show, a show that I co-host over on The Line. I recommend you all go check it out. Link down in the description below, along with a link to the original episode where this aired. I'm a co-host on this show in this particular episode with Dr. Ben, wonderful, insightful, knowledgeable man. Go check it out. It's wonderful. Got some contentious calls, got some friendly calls, got some really constructive calls. Go check out The Line. They have many other shows over there as well. And also, of course, check out the Transatlantic Call-In Show. It's every week on Thursdays. Go check it out. And like, comment, subscribe, hit the like button here, hit the like comment, hit the like comments over there as well. And comments longer than 8 words, obviously helping the algorithm a little bit better. But all that being said, subscribe to both channels too. It's just one click. Boom, 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 boom. Go do it. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to click buttons. And if this show sounds interesting, make sure to check us out live every Thursday. And also, if you got questions or you got comments or you got things you want to debate about trans people, call in. That's the entire point of the show. It is a call-in show where anything you want to ask about trans people is on the table. So go do that. And I hope you enjoy this call.
Joseph, you are live on the line with Ben and Riverboat Jack. It sounds like you want to talk about gender as a concept and gender abolition. Lay it on us.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. How about you?
Good. Those last 2 calls were pretty awesome, actually. I love those. Those were great. Which is funny because the last call, actually, I feel like really perfectly segues into this. Maybe with a different perspective, just because I'm a cis straight person, so I may have some limitations to my perspective here, but I'm also trying to figure out how to formulate this correctly. But it seems like when we're trying to liberate ourselves from the boundaries that we used to be confined in with gender concepts, that we've ended up sort of accepting the original premise of those concepts, and use those to move forward with that progress, if that makes sense. So like with masculine and feminine concepts, like masculine and feminine are descriptions of characteristics of people or of like personalities, right? That are sort of confined to a binary. And when I think about what that binary is or what roots it, it always seems to come back to the same binary of, oh, do you have a dick or a vagina, right? And so I wonder if, I guess, we're kind of spinning our wheels with progress with this, unless we're trying to abolish the concepts of gender in the first place. That, look, you have what you have biologically, and then, that's really only relevant to the doctor and stuff, and maybe the psychologist and stuff too. But at that point, none of the rest of it should matter. Like, you can present how you want to present, and that can or cannot be masculine or feminine, or it can be anything in between. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, I guess it sort of seems like, I don't know, a lot of the conversations that we have around the topic are kind of spinning the wheels around what really needs to move things forward. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would call myself a gender abolitionist. Like, in an ideal world, like if we were in a society that would support gender abolition, I would be 100% in favor. Like I think really gender identity is important, like having that for you and really only you, like gender existing as a concept for you to feel like yourself, and for you to express yourself to other people. I really think that's what it should be, and that anything else in society should not matter. Like it should just be individuals doing individual things. Um, so I agree with you. The thing is, I think that we live in a world that would have a really hard time getting there. So it's a case where I don't really argue it a whole lot, because it does, like, there's a lot of risk of futility with that discussion.
Okay.
Um,
Can I
but
ask
I
like
absolutely, I
why you
100%
think?
see your point. What
Can
was
I
that?
ask why you think it's sort of more of a lost cause, at least to convince people that look, gender, to the extent that it exists at all as a concept, is kind of irrelevant to the most important things in your life, like how much, like whether you're getting good wages or getting health care, right?
Yeah,
Can
I
I
think it's
can I
not impossible. Yeah,
can I step
jump
in real
in.
quick?
Yeah.
I think that it is pretty, how do I put this? I think that we can have both a gender abolitionist view of like, yeah, like essentially gender is a social construct. We can do with it what we want. Like it doesn't, it, ultimately, like it is malleable. Like, but
Yeah.
also I think what we're really railing against isn't necessarily even the concept of identifying with certain identities. What we're really against is the prescriptive notion of gender that has been imposed upon our society. You know, like the idea
Yeah.
that because you are a man, you have to behave in XYZ ways. Because you're a woman, you have to
Right.
behave in XYZ ways, etc. And I think right now, just as a society, what we're in the middle of doing isn't necessarily um, counter to gender abolition. I think it is, in fact, a really important step to get to gender abolition, where we're making the argument that, in fact, we can begin to decouple these things from like a biological essentialist view of the world. And the
Yeah.
words we might use might remain the same, but we're starting to move away from these prescriptive notions of gender identity that have, for a very, very long time, dominated society. Um, and I think that that moves
Mhm.
us towards gender abolition.
Yeah, and I would agree too. I guess, like, for some reason specifically, I always remember a lot of conversations that Forrest Falkai has with people very confused about, what gender and sex are, and it seems that some of the smarter ones within those end up realizing, okay, well, what are our concepts of gender based on, even though they are social constructs, and they end up, thinking, oh, well, because they are based on our binary idea, or the binary of sex, even though you can have both at the same time, they end up sort of drawing that to, okay, well, then there is a basis for it, and it's what I'm saying, but it it seems like they get lost. They lose the forest for the trees, if that makes sense. When
Yeah,
really,
and that,
like,
yeah.
okay, look, it's somebody's gender expression is more about like their ideas of themselves that are the most healthy for them and the most healthy for their interactions and things like that. And really, if you just care about that person, you just respect that. But and beyond that, it's like, okay, their doctor is the only person that needs to know what's between their legs ultimately. And other than that, like, the rest does not matter. I guess I don't know. I don't know if I'm sounding correct here or a little off.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because, like, the reason why I think that it's kind of a stretch to try to achieve gender abolition, like I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it's possible eventually, but it's, I would say it is impossible within our lifetime, unless by some miracle we end up living for a few hundred years. But like, because the concept of gender, like, we already have such a difficult time walking people through the difference between sex and gender, and definitely a lot of that is the root of how we got to the concepts of gender hierarchy and doing gender,
That's what I'm saying,
like
right?
within a society. And so it's like there's a lot of this baggage that you'd need to unpack. And so even if you get people to start agreeing that the concept of gender is just kind of ridiculous, you still have those underlying biases that are going to influence people's opinion. And something that I worry about kind of getting lost in the sauce here is, even if we got rid of some of these labels and things, we would still be dealing with misogyny. We'd still be dealing with inequity in our society, because that underlying bias is still there. Like, even if we say, "Oh, I don't discriminate because I don't,"
That's it's part of my
like,
work,
I don't think there's
too.
gender,
Like,
but then still chooses to hire people who present masculine, pay them more, all that. Like, there's still a gender difference, even if we don't chalk that up to a gender difference. Like, the assumptions are still going to
right.
be there. And so I think we'd have to unpack a lot of that as a society, and we'd have to undo our entire system. Like, and have another generation that doesn't have like a shred of that knowledge in them for something like a full gender abolition to work.
I guess that kind of makes sense. I it and maybe it's just from my experience of gender, thinking of it of just characteristics that normally we would assign as feminine or masculine. And I've never thought of myself as less masculine because I'm attracted to a lower voice or something like that, right? And so it just makes me wonder, what if we're getting too far into the weeds with things like that, rather than like the fact that, like you said, misogyny is still happening, and the taking of rights to healthcare for trans people is still happening, when ultimately none of the arguments around that are contingent on I guess gender in the first place. Really, it's just really ultimately contingent on what humans deserve because you're a human, right?
I think there's another factor we're missing here in the fact that a lot of these people making these disingenuous arguments are legitimately just disingenuous people.
True.
Like, we
Yeah.
have people that just blatantly disregard the concept of respect. And I think that's, like, as people who are genuinely wanting to make positive change, uh, I think it would be easier to convince. But then it's like, people in our government right now clearly do not care about respecting people. Like, that's not on their agenda.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would just throw in there, like, the project of dismantling misogyny, it's going to be a long-term one, and it will likely outlive all of us. But like what we're doing right now, decoupling kind of this gender sex essentialist argument, about how, like, what men are, what women are, that's an important part of the step to get there, I think. Like, I think
mhm.
we are all engaged right now in a pretty important work to, like, undo these prescriptive notions of what men, women, and, like,
Yeah.
I imagine there are other, like, not non-binary folks are, potentially developing their own prescriptive notions of what that means. But I think I think
Right.
undoing these
That's one
notions
thing
is
I've
like
always
the
wondered
work of our
too,
time.
is if I really think about it, I would identify as non-binary because of my ideas with gender abolition, I guess. But I would present, completely cis heterosexual, man.
Hmm.
Well, if you saw me walking down the street, right? And so I guess, I don't know. It makes it. I'm ultimately of the opinion that most of our problems exist either when it comes to misogyny or when it comes to racism or when it comes to discrimination of pretty much all kinds of any minority. Ultimately comes down to the fact that we live in a system that requires so much profiteering that it needs those as scapegoats. And so I was ultimately surprised that trans people became such a massive scapegoat for the right when there's such a small portion of society and affects literally nobody else's lives. But I think ultimately those things are always going to have an incentive to exist and to be maintained by a lot of money and power until we dismantle the portion that incentivizes those things to exist, which is really just capital. The people who understand that strife is going to increase and they have to mitigate that by pointing to this group or that group and spin a big story about how they're actually your problem.
Hell yeah, comrade.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, you're doing some great work. I think we largely agree. I think where we disagree is just the steps to getting where we need to go and how we prioritize those steps. So
I gotcha. Because I guess I would prioritize the dismantling of that structure first, and then the things, all the civil rights are going to follow more easily after that, because that's the thing sort of preventing them for the most part in the first place, in my opinion. But I guess you hold the opinion that dismantling some of those structures first and I guess to some degree I might agree that dismantling those structures first would be the best way to get there in some cases, but
well, and we might need a little bit of both at the same time. Yeah, we might need a little bit of both at the same time. Like, I think it's okay to approach the issue from multiple sides, as long as we're working towards the same goal and we're not hurting each other's progress along the way. So, I mean, there are probably some people who would be more receptive to just going straight to a gender abolition approach, and other people might not be. So, this is a case where a difference of opinion, I don't think, derails us from the cause. I think this is one of those more nuanced discussions of how do we get from point A to point Z, and we can have different thoughts and opinions along the way, and kind of hash that out as we go, and we can go on different paths as well, and meet somewhere at the end. So you're doing some good work, Joseph.
Thank you. And I guess maybe on a smaller, maybe more personal point, I guess what would you guys describe me as? Because I don't know. Like gender is a vacuous concept. I kind of feel like I'm agender. Does that sound like that is accurate, or would you say no?
I mean, it sounds to me like if you are inclined to identify as non-binary or agender, like that's really, you can still present like as mask as you want. You can identify how you want to identify. And I would just throw out there, most cis men aren't out there wondering if they're non-binary or agender.
That is true. Yeah. I guess I wonder about everything, and so but yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good one.
Take care.
That was fun. Well, here we are again. End of the episode. But you know what? It doesn't have to be the end of the calls that you watch, because you can click a link down in the description to the full episode where you can watch all of the calls all at once. Some that may not have even come out yet on this channel. So go do that if you're interested. Otherwise, well, not otherwise. Also, hit the like button here. Leave a comment what you thought about the call down below here. Comments longer than 8 words really help. And also leave a comment over there, because comments help that show to grow too. And our goal is to grow both these shows. So also call in, of course, every Thursday if you feel inclined. Yeah. Also, there's merch. I don't know that I've mentioned that there's merch yet. There's merch. If you look down below, there's merch and a Patreon for the line. Go check it out, and we could do more cool stuff. I don't know. How's your day going? Good. I hope. This is a good outro, and I hope you all have a good day. Let's keep on going. Why was I vamping for like a whole minute? I don't know. Oh, God.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.